Hi there everybody, Flash Jasmine back again with another episode of Suzerain. That's while we wait for it, there we go. Trials back to while we wait for the screen to load. Trials of Democracy. Okay, alright, let's see what we're dealing with. Remind myself where we were. I'm back up down a bit. Where are we? Alright, let's get the news to this over what we're doing. Time for me to stand up, radical, talk about women's rights. Well, that's fine. Let's do all the regional news first. Oh, young swordsman member found decapitated. Again, I think this is a standard game tool that pops up. That's the right way of describing it. Because I've had this in the other previous playthroughs. Basically, someone getting decapitated. That's brutal. I suppose it's there to kind of indicate the problems that are happening within the country. Police getting ambushed by militants. Yeah, again, I suppose it's to highlight how much anarchy is starting to spread over the country, which then it's there to try and force you to make a decision on what's going on. Again, this is also another one I've seen, the Marbell mine disaster, which is down to neglecting worker situations, which comes back into a conversation we've had about improving workers' rights. Again, this is another tool to try and make you think about what's going on in the country and the type of issues that could affect you getting re-elected. Game driving tool, I think. Again, as I was just saying, the Workers' Rights Bill nears completion. The Workers' Rights Act of 1954, proposed by Alban Claven and supported by the Minister of Health, is prepared for first draft review. Voices from Labour Union show strong signs of support. Yep. Boos and cheers again. So obviously, industries, corporations aren't like it. Means they've got to pay more money. So, but I'm going to be very anti-corporate this time. I'm not very anti-corporate. I'm not going to kind of sink so far into supporting them. There we go. What do they want? They've announced that the FP is completely against threshold reform. He specifically emphasised this will lead to unwanted elements entering the assembly. But again, it's what has he got to say? Unwanted elements. What's he got to say? They shouldn't be coming in. It's like they're awesome. We don't want him, but it's kind of what right's he got? So I'm trying to get my mic comfortable. For whatever reason, I've got myself set up this morning because I've got a day off, so I'm doing a few recordings, and my mic's been a bit of a pain. But anyway. You really don't need to know about that. Ban youth on that. Here we go. Okay. An investigation on the influence of young swords and red youth organisations on the post-assassination risk has concluded. Both organisations haven't officially organised or called for legal action, but several low or mid-tier level leaders from both have links to insightful actions led to deaths, injuries, and instability. Right. I'm not going to ban either one because my first game experience, when I banned both, it didn't help. I'm not going to ban any of them. I'm not going to ban them because I think that's going to. It gives them a chance to shout we're not being democratic. I'm not going to ban them. I don't think it's going to help. Hopefully, it'll allow us to appeal for calm. Here we go. Well, this will be a fun conversation. So I'm trying to get me. I've got set up this morning. I can't get my mic right. I don't know why. I just can't get my mic in the right position. There we go. I'll have to do. I was walking to my office. I was walking to my office since today was a day to edit and make the final changes to the proposals for the change to the Constitution of Sordland. The Reform Committee had finally more tangible results, and the draft of the changes were about to be presented to me. I walked in the marble corridors of the palace thinking about the huge decisions I was going to take. I entered my office. My secretary Olivia greeted me. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Olivia. How are you today? Perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine. Good to hear. She paused before taking my coat. She looked like she had something on her mind. Mr. Rayne, can you give me a hint about the reform plans? If you ask me, taking away the judge's immunity is long overdue, but it might anger a lot of people in these halls. You'll find out the rest of Sordland, sweetheart. I take that into consideration. It's none of your business. Yes, no, it is none of your business. Understood. I take your coat now. That did sound a bit rude, but yeah, it's none of their business. Her job is to be my secretary. You know. Yeah, well, I'm being a lot more blunt with people this time around. Yep. And long after Peter, Lisa, and Neo arrived, finally. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. Time to get this proposal going. Peter placed a draft in front of me. After your modifications, we will start the process. Okay. Sorry, I can hear in the back. It's one of those days I've got a day off work, so I'm going to do a block of recording, and I can hear some like drill going off. It's like a bee going off like all the time. Can we go over each of these points at our own discussion for the draft? Well, apart from the first two sections of decreasing Supreme Court authority, limiting presidential vetoes, nothing is agreed on unanimously. We could start talking. We could start talking about Section 3. This is about the impeachment process of the President. Currently, in case of high treason or breaking the Constitution, the Supreme Court may impeach and try the President. Most reformers want the impeachment to be initiated by the Assembly. They think they do not have the power over a potential rogue presidency will abuse their power. I completely agree. Not sure if this is correct to chess as wrestling this much. I agree, because in theory the President comes from the strongest party, so as long as he's got support of his party, then he should be okay. Because the whole point, they want to avoid another Darker himself, so we'll go with that. Yep. The law is particularly dangerous for you in this case. We will be going against the old guard, and if we prove to be successful, in the Assembly, they will be looking for anything they can to declare. They can declare unconstitutional to tackle you. All they need is the Supreme Court to impeach you. If we don't succeed, the court can impeach me for this. Many forms are not great. Ooh, that's an interesting one. That's not going to help anybody though. We should define a bit more refined impeachment process. Yes, we are collaborative working on the Pacific. Section 4. This is regarding the appointment of ministers. Currently, the President is free to appoint anyone from ministers of the Assembly. No one is involved in the process. There's definitely a demand to involve the Assembly in this process. We can easily confident grow. We should involve the Assembly more in the process. The reformers suggest that the Assembly should nominate the ministers before the President approves them. Well, that could be interesting. Of course, according to the ratio of the parties in government, in case it's only us. That could get interesting if you're in a minority parliament, where you've got lots of parties, small parties, where you haven't got a clear majority, where you're working on coalitions. Luckily, in the UK, we get very few of them. Well, luckily, I suppose it's kind of depends on your point of view on that, whether that works or not. Anyway, the fifth section is about an infamous electoral threshold. Most reformists want to lower the threshold as much as possible. Mr. McTurney's PFJP definitely wants to see the change on this topic. They will find that 10% threshold to be anti-democratic, which is something I also agree with. Yes, but this is a delicate matter of the party, and I mean, not even Albion wants us to change the threshold. They think that this will destroy our party in the long term, which is maybe not a bad idea, because we've had a stranglehold on the country for a very long time. Not wrong. The 10% threshold is what that allowed us to control half the Assembly with only 30% of the majority in the elections. See, for me, my Democratic head says that's completely wrong. However, the high threshold is why Swedish politics has become so isolated. We should have to work on decreasing the threshold for better representation. You think this would really help the party? This is a national matter, Mr. Rayne, not a partisan one. It's a matter of both. When we have the Communist Party and the Workers' Party bloody getting more than 5% of the vote in last elections, decreasing the threshold might mean opening their way into the Assembly. Of course, that would also mean the USP might lose its majority in the Assembly, sir. If our own democracy is for our downfall, we will have to accept it. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, as much as I want to be kind of a bit more dictatorial, my democratic head says that's the only option I've got really. That's one with this game. It's kind of my own morals. It's trying to. If I try and play the game my own morals, I'm fine. But as soon as I start to try and play it going against my natural instincts, it's very hard to play. It's very hard to go. Actually, I'm going to be very dictatorial because I'm not like that personally. So it's incredibly hard to do. Leasing open next section. This is about presidential decrees. Reformists demand more limitations to president executive powers. Maastricht has demanded them to be completely removed. It's almost as if they want it to become more of a parliamentary democracy, whereas in the UK we've got a prime minister that, while he's the face of the government, is just the prime minister of the party. Therefore, it's the party-based decision making. Whereas it's more like the president making decisions and the assembly voting on it, I think. Anyway, I suggest to bring some limitations to decrees regarding their applicability. While we keep them, we should try to make sure that they only be used in emergency situations. We could also make it dependent on enabling act from the Assembly. Sure, it would make the whole process long, but as long as we have a majority, nothing really changes. Yeah, that's a work reform, so let's just limit the use of them. I'm fine with that. Fairs will probably demand that we remove them completely, but he forgets that Sordland is a presidential republic. Yeah. Next one is Section 7, term limits. I don't aim to leave anytime soon. We keep unlimited terms. Term limits question mark. They want us to include previously non-resistant term limits. We can't let someone that's hold on to his seat for 2 decades. Again, we should establish limits. Hey, if possible, if people keep electing one person, that means they really are content. The masses are scared of change. But if they've got no option, and if that person can get into power and mould it how he wants, sometimes it is difficult to get rid of a person after being there for so long. Even so knew he had to leave, but we will leave it to the president to decide. Ooh, I'm not sure on this one actually. It seems unnecessary, but yes, he did, but it took a long time. Yeah, but it did take a long time. Now I'll move on to the 8th section, while reaching the end. The section about the immunity of judges. While the anti-old guard sentiment is increasing, there are talks of that taking away their immunity would give us authority over the judiciary. Do not support taking away their power for yourself, Mr. President. The judiciary must be independent and long-lasting. I completely agree. Whilst I agree that the court members are problematic, there's no way to resolve it. The law is supposed to ensure the judiciary's independence by giving legal protection so they can be pressured, so they can't be pressured. And yeah, I agree with that. The problem is it's when they get factionalised by what they are. Now, so if we go into the political overview, so if we go to the political overview for factions, is it legislative or the judiciary? We've got 5 old guard. So instantly they've got an inbuilt majority. Well, they almost certainly nearly always got an inbuilt majority to kind of dictate what happens, and it's dangerous basically. Well, they need absolute immunity in theory, but look at what that reality got us. We've got to deal with the most corrupt chief justice in the world, and with no chance to deal with him. Again, there's that as well, though. They should be able to be impeached. Why do I get impeached but not them? We should crush old guards in clear ways. That's a tough one, that is, because I can see arguments for both sides. Well, they do need that. Yeah, we should crush the old guards to clear the way for further vulnerable Sordland. Hell yes, we should, but how? But it would be tough to prepare the judges with this. Miss Edmonds may not want to cooperate with you if you believe you're going to get rid of them afterwards. True. And the last one is a question about Sol's legacy. Basically, his member of honour law gives him absolute immunity even when he's retired. He's a permanent member of the Assembly as well, but luckily doesn't really attend anymore. According to the Constitution, the member of honour not only has legal immunity, but the state also covers most of her expenses as well as providing security at all times. It can only be given to someone by absolute majority in the Assembly and the approval of the President. That's why only Tarkin Solasatali gave it to himself right after his military coup. This law is basically made to save the Kurd land, is symbolic importance to Sordland because of it. Yeah. We must get rid of this census law that protects him. He should be able to face justice for his atrocities that take place during his rule. Yeah, but what will it get us though? That's a problem. That's going to be a tough one to get through that. I agree we should abolish it. No, I think we should respect the law. We should keep the title but take away the immunity clause. Every president should gain this. No, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, I agree with that. I like that one. Yeah. That would be enough to hold him accountable for his actions, but why would you want to keep such a title, Mr. President? God's love him, I don't see him having a special title for great heroes. It's just a title. Regardless of what Mr. decides, we need to work together to push this agenda. My thought process is hopefully, if we can, you still got a member of honour, that it'll kind of appease the old guy a little bit to some degree. So we're still going to go after him, but we're not going to take his title away from him. Let's get working on the draft. Okay. According to Article 78 and 78.2, the President may veto a bill by returning to the Assembly with a written statement. The article does not contain the information about how to override a veto. As a consequence, the President has an absolute veto that cannot be overridden by the Grand National Assembly on any circumstance. Move vetoes. New Constitution will not include any veto powers. The President may not block any legislation passed by the Grand National Assembly of Sordland. Limited vetoes. The new Constitution will allow the Grand National Assembly to override vetoes with a 3 to 6% majority. I'll go with that because it's a presidential democracy. Therefore, the clues in the name. Therefore, like so it clues in the name, so the president should be able to have some kind of powers. But if we limit it, again, it might appease the Assembly. Constitutional amendment process. According to Article 5 of the Constitution, an amendment may be proposed by the members of the Assembly with at least 150 signatures. A 2/3 majority of the vote in the Grand National Assembly and a simple majority in the Supreme Court is required for the amendment. As a consequence, the Supreme Court, which is not part of the elected legislative branch, has enormous power in the amendment process. Yeah, absolutely, because they're not elected, and I don't care. An unelected judiciary should not be able to decide on how the constitution of a country runs and how vote. Yeah, basically. Article 17. The President of Sordland is not responsible for the actions performed in excess of the presidential duties, except in case of high treason or violation of the Constitution. In such cases, the President may be impeached by the Supreme Court in a joint session. With an absolute majority of its members, therefore, the impeachment process not only includes the Supreme Court, but gives them great power with the executive. The President may be impeached by a 2/3 majority in both. The President with a 2/3 may be impeached with a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly. The President. Now let's go with that one. By moving the case about high treason, the President will be responsible for any actions performed in excess of. No, because he's got to be held responsible. We'll go. The Assembly may impeach, but not the Supreme Court. According to the Constitution, the President appoints the ministers of the Council of Ministers from elected members of the Assembly. This requires no confidence vote from the Grand National Assembly. The President may nominate ministers which will require a confidence vote from the GNA. I'm abbreviating the GNA because that's a mouthful otherwise. For their appointment, the GNA nominates ministers. Ooh. Let's go with this one because it means the President, i.e. me, can still pick who I want, but it gives a GNA a chance to go, no, you're not having them. Whereas they'll appoint people I don't necessarily want. So I'm going to go with that one. Let's go with that. We use a minimum of 10% total to win seats. The votes of these parties who pass the threshold are redistributed proportionally, meaning the SP currently holds a lead, would be the main beneficiary. Quite 8% threshold of political parties. This may allow the Workers' Party of Bloody and the New Communist Party to elect in the next elections. Let's go with that one. Because that's not going to get through. That's going to get thrown back at us. Guarantee that. That is such a low drop that they're never going to go for that. Neither the Reformists either, because basically we're basically signing the death knell for the USP. So I'm going to go with that one. Let's split the difference and hopefully, yeah, because. I can't remember, because I could go with that and have that as a fallback, but let's just go with that one. It gives us nowhere to go if they say we don't want it. It gives us nowhere to go, but at least, yeah, let's go with that. Because if you go with that, hopefully you can have a fallback. Well, actually, I'll drop it to 8. Let's just go with 3. It doesn't give us any negotiating room, but yeah. Presidential decrees. According to Articles 8 and 51, the President is able to issue decrees on political, social and economic issues, therefore, that carry the force of law. They could not contradict the Constitution and are subject to judicial review. Therefore, the President may issue decrees on many subjects without going through the GNA. However, the Assembly may pass legislation on the same subjects to override the presidential decree. The President will not be able to issue decrees that would carry the force of law without an enabling act from the GNA. The President will not be able to issue decrees that carry the force of law, making the GNA the sole law-making authority. Ooh. See, I'm kind of because at the moment we can do what we want, but it takes a GNA to go, and actually we don't like that, we're going to overrule it. Whereas if I go, I want to, it's just kind of the first one, because it's probably this one, because I can do it, but then the GNA have got to say, well, actually no, we're going to overrule it. This is just kind of cutting out the messing about with, I'm going to issue it, they're going to no override it. I'm going to go out because it just makes it a bit more sensible. I'm going to go to them, I want to do this, they vote on it, carry on. Because the current system, I do it, and if they don't like it, they'll overrule it. So it's just making it a bit more streamlined, I think. Give the Assembly that they are in control. This is what I'm not sure on. According to the Constitution, the President should be elected for 4 years. However, there is no mention of a term limit, allowing one individual to be able to be elected and serve President without term limits. See, again, my UK head on with the parliamentary democracy, we've got a Prime Minister, and like we had Margaret Thatcher for 15 or over a decade. We had Tony Blair for a long time as well. So over here it's kind of like you can get a Prime Minister as long as he keeps his party up in as a Prime Minister for years. But then I know in America it's a 2-term limit, but then that kind of suggests that in theory if you've got someone that's perfectly capable and people want to vote for them, then keep voting for them. But at the same time, in this scenario, you get Tarquin and Sol can hold on power for too long, so it's kind of, if he gets a grip of his party and he rules his party with an iron grip, it's like USB with Tarquin and Sol can rule. If I could keep the USB in my grip with acolytes to keep everybody in line, I could keep getting voted forever and ever and ever and ever. I don't know on this one. I really don't know. Let's go 2-term limits, just with the history talking, so let's go with that. The Constitution gives Justice to the Supreme Court total immunity and describes no procedure for impeachment, making them untouchable by the branches of government. The Supreme Court Justice may propose to be impeached on legal grounds of unconstitutional behaviour. A valid impeachment process requires 2/3 majority decision of the GNA to impeach individual justices. I don't know on that either. I really don't know, because it means we can't touch them. But what's unconstitutional? How do you? I'm going to go for it. I am going to go for it. I think it's the wrong thing to do, but I've said I want to get rid of them. On the membership of Tarquin and Sol, Article 199 of the Constitution defines a Member of Honour title, its appointment procedure, as well as the rights of their members may exercise. A Member of Honour has absolute immunity and is considered to be a permanent member of the Grand National Assembly. They are given control of their own personal security team provided by the state's presidential guard. A member is eligible to live in a special private residence provided by the state for free. The only person else is Tarquin and Sol. Basically created that to protect himself from no other. He's basically protected himself. That's all it's done. It's just given for him so he can cover his own rear end. Abolish it. Removed. Every president is an honorary member. Over. I've got no problem with president becoming an honorary member, but again, it's kind of like that. It kind of gets rid of the democracy. If you go, well, you've been president, even if you're really crap, you can still be a permanent member of the assembly. No, I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to get rid of the whole thing. Again, it's controversial. It's probably going to, let's do it. I think it's controversial. I don't think it's going to get through, but I made the final changes to the proposal. I showed it to the team. They read the changes, discussed them amongst themselves. We released a spec afterwards. Looks like the amendments are ready to be proposed, but I have to say this too. The intellectual threshold will be really difficult for the party to accept. Our guys are not fond of that idea. That's true. It was tough to get all their support. Some of the members may try to openly fight against this. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we will figure it out. I'm not sure how. We will all do our best to make it work, sir. In the comments before we proceed, I will say that I do not agree with the new law that gives the absolute power, gives the power to the Assembly to impeach the Supreme Court. I'm also against the Chief Justice's obstructionist behaviour, but even if we get rid of them all, the new justice will be less independent within the law. They will be scared to go against the administration when it's needed. Again, that's a tough one, that is, and I do agree with her. That's a tough one. It really is. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I might have made. But it's more important we get rid of the organisms, but the obstacles are gone. We can strive to make it better. However, turn to me. You have to be careful, Anton. I'm sure you'll be fine with what's happening now. With all the something that we need to prepare against threats one or the other. I'm aware. I appreciate the feedback. The Constitution has not changed yet. We'll prepare in the meantime. I think we can proceed now. I will personally work on wording this proposal with my handpicked legal experts. With Miss Morgan's reputation as a most experienced attorney, this proposal will be bulletproof. Chief Justice also will be hard. We'll have a hard time convincing others to oppose it. I'm not so sure on that, mate. In the meantime, you must introduce this proposal to our party. You will need to get them to back us if we want this to pass the Assembly. So I advise you first talk to these of both the Conservative and Reformist wings of the party. So I'm as aware, Miss Cleveland supports the reforms already. Miss Tory will be the real problem. She was to become a heavyweight after we left for the executive. Any advice? Miss Vecton said, as Mr. Vecton said, Mr. Clegg will probably be easier to persuade. We need to unite the party under this, so his support is vital. Miss Tory Gloria will be tougher to break. The problem is that she's capable of turning the moderates and conservatives against us. As much as I don't want to say this, she makes demands to change policy, you may have to give in. Understood. We should look with the party. I wish you good luck with the party, sir. I think we can end this meeting here. We all shook hands and left the room. Yeah, that's going to be a tough cookie to crack, that one is. Victor over Rayne. Our sources informed us a plan is underway by the government to start drafting a reform package. The Rayne administration has reached out to the PFJP, led by my friend Victor, despite its history of criticising opposing USP, even calling Mr. Rayne yet another pawn. Yep, so basically, they're saying we're in the hands of the reformers. Benefit Festival. Okay, this is another one that always comes up, which I am going to handle it very different to normal. I would normally handle it, I think. The Vice President, Vice Vector, reported that alongside Lucy and Gala, the committee start work on the written aspect of the package as per the outline proposal. Okay. Dinner with business council. Okay. We were lucky to work with the business council to assess weaknesses in the economy. Simon organised a dinner with affluent economic figures in Sordland. When we arrived, the streets were bustling with activity. Even the atmosphere in the country was tense. Lakehaveners didn't seem to be very worried. Together with Walter Tusk, Edith Agnog, Michael Ivan and Simon Hall, we entered the renowned Astoria restaurant by the coast. Short blonde man whose embroidered pocket red manager greeted us and waved his arms in excitement and told us how pleased he was to have his establishment. Beaming with pride, he led us to a private room and got us seated at a large table covered for the occasion with a marine tablecloth. Walter Tusk, who's this guy? National Business Council. Business Council. The official governance structure includes. Okay. Right. Okay. This is going to be an interesting one. Walter Speck as they start taking our orders. I recommend Lockhaven Salmon of this place, President. I know that you're not that you're from Lockhaven, but I bet you haven't tasted anything like this before. Patient advice: I don't like salmon. Don't go on Mr. Tusk, but of course I've tasted greatness many times here already. Excuse me, I should have known that a man of your caliber would be a regular at Astoria or the lesbian pastor. This seems a really simple thing to do, but there's a lot more to this. If I do that, I'm basically sticking my nose up at Tusk. If I do that, but if I do that, and that's just going like let's go with that. I'd look over salmon for the main course. The service took our notes and asked about the second dish. Order salad. Yeah. As a service, placed glasses in front of each of us and served bread and water. After they were done taking orders, they quickly left us alone in the private room. Mr. President, I didn't have the possibility to thank you for coming today. Your presence means a great deal. Edith, Chairman of CBS, Central Bank of Sordland. Okay. So it's on a cup of tea. Indeed, sir, it is an honour to dine with you. Thank you. We should thank Simon for organising this meeting. No need for that. I hope everybody enjoys this evening. Simon gestured at the expensive looking red wine bottle that one of the servers had just brought to the table. Mr. President. That looks amazing. Well, it tastes even better. Best of Lesbia, they shouted. Falanco 1934. Lothburg spokesman. Hang on, let me have a look at political overview. Factions. Oligarchs. Okay. He's dangerous. Simon poured some wine in my glass and waited for me to taste before filling up. Took a sip. The wine tasted immediately stimulating and delightful to my palate. It immediately reminded me of our visits to my father's vineyard when I was a little kid. The wine's sweet and bitter flavour exploded in my mouth. The aroma of gooseberries and lilacs tumbled across my tongue and my mouth tingled with them long after I swallowed. Between you and me, gooseberries are the food of Satan. I hate gooseberries. I really can't stand them. They're like big fat grapes, but when you eat them, they're not grapes at all. Don't know. My mum used to make gooseberry pie. Oh, I hated it. I really did. Anyway, I digress. How is it? Is it taste to your liking? It tastes like it reminds me of Father Vineyards. Yeah, God, I might be honest. I've heard he was a big connoisseur. May he rest in peace. Just say thank you. Just be polite. Let's not go from the wrong way. I filling up his glass of salmon. Stood up and raised his glass. I'd like to raise my toasty wall. I'd like to raise a toast to all of you here today. We're meeting here tonight in difficult times, but I believe that with hard work, cooperation and trust, we can get through this period as well. I'd like to thank Mr. Rayne again for his decisiveness when it comes to economic policies. I'm sure we will stop this recession. I failed in the two previous ones, but even getting away close to in fact I made it even worse. My last two ones I made it even worse. In my last one I created that Sordland's very own version of the Great Depression. It was a complete car crash. I'd like to thank Mr. Tusk for being here today with us. His presence is an honour, and of course my colleagues from the Business Council, Miss Agnock and Mr. Avon. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Let's drink to the future cooperation and growth. For prosperous Sordland. Everybody raised their glasses and tasted each other. After a couple of minutes the servers arrived with our meals. When I tasted the food I went back to my past. It reminded me of my childhood in the city. Even though I couldn't recall much about my father, I remembered that he loved the food of Astoria. So how do we find the food of the best fine dining restaurant in Lockhaven, Mr. President? I'm not a big fan of fancy food. I must admit it's very tasty. Fine food is like art, like fine art, but this particular is a masterpiece. This can't get old. It's experience. The chef must be tipped. Definitely it doesn't. But I don't care to tip. Don't you? But I'll get the tip. I'll take care of the tip. Don't you worry. Always generous when it comes to small things. Tipping is no small thing. I actually don't like giving tips. People have salaries for a reason. Oh dear me. Oh, that's a bit tough. It's kind of depends. In some places, some countries, the companies replace salaries and say, "Well, we'll give you a minimum salary, you get the rest from your tips." But again, in the UK, they get paid a proper wage, they get paid a minimum wage. But tips another way for you to say you've done a good job, thank you. You know, so I can see his point though. But anyway. How are things going in Marine Palace? Pressure must have increased after you attended that funeral. Always high, nothing much has changed. It did, but for the right decision. It was the right decision. I have to say the future is looking good. It's tough, but our work on the new constitution continues. Yeah. Sometimes you wonder what impact on the game these decisions have. Little decisions like this. It seems like an offhand comment to make, but we all hope so. After we conversed with Mikhail, I heard Walter raise his voice in an apparent argument with Edith Simon. We both stopped to listen. Arcades knows the right way of doing business. Their approaches to the world is real and raw. I'd prefer that cutthroat approach in comparison to the niceties. Well, I mean, it's a nice country to visit too. I've travelled there often in business. It's the attitude on all countries are nice to visit if you have the cash. Very good point. Money does turn the world around. Travel is the least you can buy with it. So, how about people who don't have us to spend? What about the disease? What about death? What about everything that is wrong with the world? There might be beyond our lives. We should focus on the betterment of ourselves and enjoy what we have instead of worrying about what others don't have. Yeah. The world isn't black and white. You are water. We only live once. Too egotistical way to look at the world. All men plant trees. Old men plant trees whose shades they will never sit under. Very pathetic. I just thought, you know what to say. Being a romantic, I just is easy when you have the time and the money to be able to sit down and relax and dream. Otis token us down the rabbit hole again. By the way, I saw the construction of the railway has already started. I have my concerns about that company, but I hope they do a good job. The project will surely boost our economy if done correctly. The mood is already becoming positive. I have to congratulate Mr. Rayne for starting such a massive project. Yeah, let's just be modest. Mr. Holt also does credit, of course, our great economy minister. Is her joke coming? Why, I thought you said you were great at the economy. He laughed. I've heard you bought a new villa with Simon. I don't comment on rumours. I just but I'll make an exception since we're among friends. It's true. Why? I've already had my eye on an area, plus it wasn't intended to be public. It's a small seaside villa on the outskirts of Conriat. It's just a modest house with a swimming pool and a small golf course in the property. Blimey, that ain't modest, mate. Great city to buy real estate in. Conriat is seeing a huge investment. Modest, are you being sarcastic with me? Oh, I don't know what to say here. Now is there a problem? Oh, come on, leave the man be president. Edith was sitting on my left, gently put her hand over my arm for a few seconds. Come on, let's not talk about finance or politics now. We've come here to relax. Did she turn to Walter and Simon? Is that right, gentlemen? They nodded at her and took a sip from their drink. She leaned slightly leaned towards me. So, Mr. Rayne, why don't you tell us about what's behind that strong character of yours? I've heard that your father was a very wealthy man. Look at that, he ain't. Well, would you say that contributed to your success? My success has nothing to do with that. We had money, but we weren't happy. I learned a lot about life thanks to the absent father. Yes, go with that one. Sorry to hear that. Never met your family present. How are they doing, if you don't mind me asking? We don't talk much since I prefer not to talk about my family. I understand. Family is everything. My advice would be to make sure that Frank has a solid relationship with you. He's your future after all. Good point. I do like that point. To do my best to be a good father for him. Meh. Wish that was my son's biggest problem. Darren seems to be doing fine. I saw his yacht party in Benford made local news. Well, the rascal didn't even ask for permission to use the yacht, he just took it, he basically stole it. Good news is that I finally convinced him to go to university. He will study economics in Lockhaven Business School. That's a good choice. Having a degree in Sordland separates you from the rabble. We especially need more people who understand economics. Talking of which, it's great that we have another leader who actually studied economics and understand it, like Mr. Alfonso. Look at what he calls studying doesn't get you to the finish line. Alfonso was an inspiration to all reformists. Let's just go thank you. Let's not even get into that debate. Maybe we can repair the damages to our economy. We can't fail like Alfonso did. A correction. It wasn't his policy that destroyed him. It was the old guard. I agree. Ooh, have I misread Walter Tusk? Is he actually opposed to the old guard? Ooh. What do you mean, question mark? He threatened the economic power base over the country through vast privatisation plan and removed him and backed you after. Walter, stop with the conspiracy theories. I don't think we've had enough drinks. It's long silence. Followed by some chit-chat. Walter ordered a bottle of whiskey. I'm actually changing my opinion on Walter Tusk. If he's against the old god, he could be a good friend to have. That's one good-looking bottle. Walter bought one of the finest occasion whiskies. It was a time for a toast. Toast. Yeah, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. Yeah, to that one, a constructive benefit of humour. I do this we set aside for a good future. They say hope dies last to the future. Raised. I think it's time we call it a night. Edith stood up. Most of us were a little tipsy at this point. I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, for joining us. And you and Simon for putting all this together. That's definitely not me. President of jokes. Thanks for being here. After bidding our farewells, we slowly walked out to the restaurant. The moon was shining bright as everyone except what were left in their luxury cars. President, a moment alone, please. He called me inside his small VIP lounge. Follow him. Usually Lothbrok doesn't directly comment on the administration, but I'd like to say a few things. This was a special evening. I'm all ears. Finally, the President listens to people. It won't be easy to get the passing new Constitution through the Assembly Supreme Court. You're dead right there, mate. We could help you get it through if you help us in return with a few economic requests. Look, Literacy-Con took a few drugs before continuing. The consensus is that we see eye to eye on the economic direction you have taken for promoting a market economy. Good to know, but I'm not sure that how this concerns me. Yeah. There's many who put their trust in you. Walter smiled. He took the eye to eye. You reject our previous discreet offer to pick Underhaul Construction for the execution of the first mega infrastructure project. This led to disappointing in the group. We are aware of the upcoming tax meeting, and this will be a step in the right direction if the private corporations get a tax cut. To boost the economy with job creation, of course, and the positive side effect will be our support of the administration through the entire term. Lothbrok will not influence me. Let's not be hasty. The recession will end if Lothbrok is on your side, President. Why can't we all just be friends? Maybe we can. I'll see what I can do. Got it. The group wants private corporation tax cut and privatisation of healthcare and education. So basically, they want to pay less money, then they want to make more money out of that. Basically. Oh no, I'm rejecting it. It's a shame. I did offer you a peace bunch. There's an awkward silence. Either way, President, we are here and always ready to work with you. If you change your mind, don't forget that. I will think about it, but not now. Meh. Okay, enter the car. Enter the car. We drove to our residence. Serge took the seaside route. Serge took the seaside route. Right, what have we got coming up? Do we want to start another long conversation? Let's see what little branches we've got here. Car bomb attack. Put the casualties again, just to emphasise the increasing lawlessness in the country. Who was working at school was apprehended with connection to last week's school cafeteria poisoning without Ribble. The act was politically motivated. Oh, blimey. 60 years in prison. Ooh. Not long enough. What we're doing, so that's what we've got up here. Let's have a look at the news. Bill of Work's been drafted, yeah, we know about that. Section minimum wage. Okay, meets the business council. 112 dead, which kind of this feeds in with this basically. Budget allocation. Right, I think I'm going to leave that to the next one because that's going to be a long one. I'm going to leave that to the next one because that's going to be a long conversation, I think. It's a conversation I want to have to think about because it's not going to be an easy one. Alright, so I'm going to cut this one just here. Leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger for the next one. Alright. Bit of a... Nothing much happened this time, man. Well, nothing much happened. It's Constitution. That's going to be a difficult push to get through. That really is going to be hard to get through, that one is. But we'll see. We'll see. I've not got it through yet, so we'll see. We'll see on the third one. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, bye.